Hi there, I'm Susan Scherf, an educator for the Institute for American Indian Studies. You're here for another educational installment. This is basic birding. What I wanted to talk about today was how to attract birds to your yard, how to bird in general. First, you need your curiosity. Second, you're going to need a pair of binoculars. I prefer a lighter pair. They don't have a weight on my neck. When you're eyeing a bird, a tree is like a clock. So 6 o'clock is the base of the tree. Then to the left would be 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. When you find a bird in a tree or in a shrub, you want to keep your eyes on the tree and then bring your binoculars to your eyes, not the other way around. You're not going to be going like this trying to find the bird. So you need a pair of binoculars. A scope really only works for like stationary birds, like shorebirds, maybe a hawk perched in a tree. Your songbirds are going to flit and fly too much. And then a basic field guide. There's a couple different varieties. This one I've had since I was about 10 years old. It also has a really cool thing. It has a chart of all the birds I have seen called my life list. So this is Peterson's, and then Sibley, David Sibley, has come out with this gorgeous book, all hand illustrations to help you identify your birds. Then you're going to want to have an understanding of their habitat. So you've got birds that are forest birds, you've got birds that are migratory birds, you've got birds that are edge species, which means the zone between the forest and the fields. You've got your water birds. So all that is going to be helpful if you have an understanding of your habitat and your environment. And then you're going to want to look at the bird's size. So this is a Atlantic puffin. This is a guillemot. Here's our cardinal, one of our year-round residents. So that gives you a size. Everyone says robin-sized. And then your smaller birds, these two birds are migratory warblers. This is your yellow-rumped warbler. They're a little bit smaller. And then you get into crow size and then into your hawk size. So that helps you decipher between what type of bird it is. Key things you want to look for are bill structure. The bill structure tells you what food that animal is eating. So bill structure and then feathering. Your feathering is going to help you narrow down possible different species. So feathering is quite unusual. There's two different types of feathers. There's a pigment-based feather, which are the yellows and the browns and the red. Not the reds. The browns, the blacks, the whites. Those are pigment-based feathers. Your blues are not pigment-based. It's actually the way the light hits the feather that gives it its color, and it's called. I forgot what it's called. It's a light-sourced feather. So the light, in low light, a blue jay won't really look blue. He'll look gray. So you need the sunlight to give you the feather color. Another amazing thing about feathers is each one of these is called a scale. Those scales are hook and eyed together like Velcro. Again, I found all these feathers just walking around. This is the flight feather to a swan, and this is the flight feather to a vulture. All birds have 7 primary flight feathers. So this is the right wing, this is the left wing. You can see this leading edge cuts and it picks up, and then it has a little curve to it. So again, the bird can get lift. So this is your flying. The amazing thing, so your hoverers, which would be your kingfisher, your terns, your hummingbirds, their wing rotation, so it's the flapping motion, that's why they have huge breast muscles. A hummingbird actually does a figure 8 motion. That allows him to fly backwards and forwards and up and down. So it's pretty amazing with those flight feathers. Flight feathers are so small in some species, they make sound, and that sound is a part of the mating call. This is actually the flight feather to a woodcock. And when a hummingbird, a male ruby-throated hummingbird, does his arc display, the sound is actually coming from those feathers. Same thing with a woodcock. he'll fly up in the air and whirl around, and it makes an amazing sound, and it's all coming from those 7 primary flight feathers. So again, you can identify some birds based on their nests. They build the nests, of course, to hold the eggs. This egg would not belong in here, but this is a chicken egg. This is an ostrich egg, so you can see the difference. Little teeny tiny hummingbirds, their eggs are not going to be any bigger than my pinky fingernail, if not even smaller. Each species has what's called a clutch. A robin can have 4 clutches in a year. A clutch consists of 4 eggs typically. So one robin could brood in one season 16 baby robins. Only one of those survives to be an adult. So I don't have a robin's nest here, but I do have wonderful nests, and you can see the different material. This is all horsehair. This is a oriole's nest. This is a chipping sparrow's nest. This nest is one of the most unique. This is to a chimney swift. And a chimney swift lives in chimneys. They're called that. They're genetically designed where they can't even perch. They just cling to the sides of chimneys. And they build this nest with sticks and spit. So that's how they build their nest. A lot of birds will build their nest with spit. A barn swallow, a cliff swallow, phoebes will use spit. The ruby-throated hummingbird uses lichen and spider silk to create its nest. So again, these will blow out of trees, and you can tell the difference of the different animals from there. Birds need to what's called fledge. When they fledge, they are the same size as an adult bird. Mourning doves can fledge within 12 days. In other words, they go from being naked, blind, and helpless to flying in 12 days. That, when they're born, is called altricial. This little guy is a Araucana chick. He's born semi-precocious, which means he's born fully feathered, and he can pretty much feed himself. The only thing he's going to need from mom is mom's protection and mom's heat. A raptor, like an owl or a red-tailed hawk, is born semi-precocious as well, fully feathered, and then needs mom's help to be fed. Birds like shorebirds and ducks are completely precocious, which means they don't get any help from mom and dad. So fledging is the size of an adult, and they can fully fly and get away from predators if needed. So again, fledging times can vary from 12 days to 38 days depending on the species. So this little guy, this Araucana, is 2 weeks old tomorrow. So and he's doubled in size in those 2 weeks. We just had a starling above my head. So if a baby bird falls out of a nest and you come across it, the best thing to do is try to find that nest and put it back in it. Most birds have a very poor sense of smell. So the misnomer that the mother will smell it and reject it is completely false. You want to get that bird back in that nest, or you want to get the bird to a qualified, licensed wildlife rehabilitator so they can care for it. So that's your best thing you'd want to do for that baby bird. So this is a hummingbird feeder. Hummingbirds, when I moved back to Connecticut in '03, hummingbirds arrived always May 1st and left by September 10th. That now has been pushed back because of climate change. They're arriving any day now. They've already been seen in the Carolinas by a friend of mine. They rely on the yellow-bellied sapsucker. Sapsucker drills parallel holes in the tree, the sap flows down, it attracts insects. So if the flowers aren't out, the hummingbirds are going to be relying on that sapsucker to get the sap out of the tree. But you can support them by giving them sugar water. Please don't use the red sugar that comes with the packaging of the hummingbird feeders. It's a 4-to-1 solution. So 1/4 cup of sugar to 1 cup of warm water. You dissolve the sugar and then add that. About every 4 days, you're going to want to clean that out so you don't get a yeast buildup. So that's one way to attract a hummingbird. To attract other birds, we're going to walk around the yard and show you a couple different ways to attract other species of birds. So a hummingbird is a migratory bird. They live for over 11 years. How we know that is they band the birds. They put a steel band on these animals, and they've tracked their basically demographics all throughout that. A hummingbird will migrate from South America all the way up to New England and do that 11 times, thousands of miles. The red dye is really bad for them. They live long enough that could build up in their system and is just plain bad for them, and there's no need. As long as you have red on your feeder, they'll be attracted to that. And also, each year you'll get the same hummingbirds back. So if you keep your feeders in a consistent place, the hummingbird will know where to go. So bird feeders are really important in the winter months. If you don't clean up your garden, that's the best thing you can do. So you're going to want to leave the seed heads of your coneflower, of different weeds, different plants. You're going to want to leave that. So you should do a spring cleanup. If you want to supplement, feel free to use a feeder. You have to be careful with some metal feeders because birds will stick their head in there, and if it's really cold, their eyeball can get stuck to the metal feeder. You also want to clean your feeders because one of the worst things for birds are molds. So you want to make sure that you're not having the birds get mold. So again, I feed from mid-October until mid-March, and then I stop feeding because there's enough wild about. So this is a Bluebird box. In your Bluebird box, you want bluebirds because they're insect eaters, but you'll also get European house sparrows, which are an invasive, not great, but you'll get Carolina wren, you'll get house wrens, some chickadees and titmice, what are called cavity nesters, will use a Bluebird box. I have about 7 to 8 Bluebird boxes around the property, again trying to give enough space so my European sparrows don't take over, and I got ways to attract birds by putting up the boxes. So again, that's another way you can attract birds. You can have the feeders, you can put up nest boxes. Then the other thing is different plants. You're going to want to grow echinacea, purple coneflower, bee balm, any type of seed and or nectar plants to attract those birds. I also have a bunch of fruit trees, and in the beginning of the season, they're fantastic. So these are really old pear trees. We have a plum blooming over here. Your orchard oriole will come and actually eat the blossoms, not just the fruit, but they'll eat the blossoms. We have a couple of crab apples. The crab apples are great, again, as a winter source of food. Those are crab apples over there. Robins will eat the rotting fruit, so will cedar waxwings. So again, those are all different ways to attract the birds. So this book is called The Birder's Handbook. It partners with Sibley's, National Geographic, and Peterson's Field Guide. So it's an addendum, and it goes into much more in-depth information about different birds. It'll give you their nest, it'll give you what they eat, it'll give you their habitat, again, much more, and then amazing information about all the different species of birds. At one time, I was a wildlife rehabilitator and a bird bander. So if you have any questions, please contact the IAIS Facebook page or website and just say birding question for Susan Scherf, and we'll get that information back to you. So I hope you enjoyed this segment of Basic Birding with IAIS. Thank you very much. Save the environment.